Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to do a breakdown and review for you of the first two episodes of Agatha All Along. They just did a 2-episode premiere on Disney Plus. So I've been waiting for this show for a very long time. I really enjoyed WandaVision, and I especially enjoyed Jessica Hahn as Agatha. She was great in that show, and I just have been waiting for this show. So finally, we get to see the first 2 episodes. The first one was called Seeketh Thou the Road, and as it starts, we find Agatha going by the name Agnes, working as a detective with the police department in Westview, fresh off a disciplinary action and investigating a murder. At a crime scene in the woods, she finds a cameo locket in a puddle. Upon examination of the body in question, she finds herself a bit verklempt. It seems that she's also the lead character in a TV show about this detective, which of course harkens back to the setup of WandaVision. Following a clue in the form of a library card, she learns that the book in question that the card belongs to was stolen, as well as the fact that there was an intentional fire at the library that it was stolen from, which destroyed all the other copies of the same book. An FBI agent with whom Agatha Agnes seems to have an unhappy history joins the case and suggests, based on the difference between the soil found under the victim's nails and the soil that it seems she was found in, was magically transported there from somewhere else, and also makes some cryptic remarks about Agnes and her history. Agnes takes the cameo locket she found to a jeweler, and he tells her that the relief on it is a depiction of the triple goddess, aka the maiden, the mother, and the crone, which are the 3 stages of the life of a witch, and that it was made in New England in the 17th century. Upon returning home, Agnes Agatha enters into what would seem to be a bedroom that once belonged to a child who has since died, before she's visited by the FBI agent, who drops more clues that everything is not what it seems with Agnes, and she even asks Agnes if she remembers why she hates her before saying that Agnes is lying to herself. Agnes then seems to hear some kind of commotion upstairs, and she finds someone stealing from one of the upstairs rooms, and she chases him out onto the roof, which she promptly falls off of as he gets away. But she continues to chase him through an alley and manages to catch him when he's hit by a car, after which she arrests him. Upon her interrogating him, he tells her that what he was looking for in her house is the road. And when she indicates that she doesn't know what he means, he insists that she should know. She shows him pictures of the crime scene and asks him what he knows about it, but they only appeared that way to her and apparently are just pictures of flowers. Then he asks her why she keeps looking at a painting on the wall, which of course she thinks is a one-way mirror, before repeatedly chanting something in Latin, at which point she puts cuffs on him and says that he's going to spend the night in jail. She then sort of questions her sanity as to whether or not she actually ever saw a body and goes to the morgue, where she does find a body with hair the color of scarlet. When she looks at a card by the body, the words W. Maximoff appear on it, at which point the FBI agent, who was apparently standing there, asks her if the case is closed, at which point Agnes asks how she died, only to have the FBI agent start talking to her about the Darkhold and how all the copies of it are gone, and that this has left Agnes trapped. But the FBI agent encourages her to dig herself out, at which point she starts disrobing and turning into different versions of the character as it appeared on WandaVision, as the FBI agent asks her what her name is, and the name A. Harkness appears on the card above Wanda's name. And Agnes then finds herself in her house, naked, at which point she questions her apparent neighbor, who appeared as her fellow detective in the show she was in, as to how long she's been living there, and he explains that it's been 3 years and that she's been acting weird the whole time. And she recognizes her other neighbors at that point as different characters in the cop story, though she is now aware that her name is Agatha. Upon returning home, she realizes that all her powers are gone as well, and she apparently kidnapped the kid who she had thought to be a suspect in the murder, before she's visited by a woman who she had seen as the FBI agent, who is apparently a witch, with whom she fights hand to hand. Apparently, she's but one witch that wants to kill Agatha, as it would seem the Salem Seven are also after her. And that's where the episode ended. The second episode was called Circle Sewn with Fate Unlocked by Hidden Gate. And at the beginning of the episode, as Agatha's trying to make her getaway before she can be confronted by the Seven, the kid that she kidnapped asks her to take him to the Witch's Road, but she declines. When he tells her that he's the one who started to break her out of her spell, she seems to reconsider. Apparently, he wants to walk the Witch's Road to gain power, but she declines a second time, at which point he explains that she probably won't get very far without her powers, with the Seven chasing her. At which point she asks the kid his name, but he can't tell her, despite trying to, which she finds interesting, so she seems to agree to take him, but she can't quite figure out how to do it, because it would seem she's still not seeing the world completely correctly, so she tells him that he has to drive. They then go to see a psychic, and Agatha pretends to be the kid's mother, as well as that they're trying to communicate with his dead father about where he might have hidden some gold bars that he had. The psychic pretends to tell them where the gold bars are, but then tells Agatha that she knows what happened to her at Wanda's hands. Agatha then, of course, tries to recruit her into a coven with herself and the kid, which apparently she needs to form in order for them to be able to walk the road, which the other witch at first declines to do, before magically coming up with a list of names of people for Agatha to recruit, and it includes her name, which automatically puts her into the coven. The first name on the list is another powerless witch named Jen, who's working as an apparent aromatherapist, and she, of course, wants nothing to do with Agatha until she and the kid remind her that she's got a whole lot of legal troubles that would be more easily resolved if she had her powers back, which could happen if she walks the road, which seems to incite her to join the coven as Agatha and the kid leave, looking for the next witch, who is apparently the daughter of a famous witch, who it would seem was lost to the road. And after they pull some shenanigans and get her fired from her job, they make their pitch, but she just walks away from them. As they're driving back to Agatha's, Agatha asks the kid about where he's from, and as he's telling her, she realizes that while she can hear everything else around her, she can't hear him. After they arrive back at Agatha's place, the other witches show up, but they realize that they need one more witch, one who specializes in earthly green magic, and it would seem that the last name on the witch list is that of the witch who had been the FBI agent, who Agatha resists the idea of bringing into the coven, causing her to recruit her neighbor with a green thumb into the coven, even though she's not a witch. The witches form a circle with the neighbor and start to sing the ballad of the Witch's Road as the Seven close in on Agatha's house. As they close in more and more, it would seem that Agatha never thought for a minute that they'd actually be able to open the door to the road, and that she was just trying to get the other witches to blast her with their powers so that she could steal a spark to try to get her powers back. But their singing actually did open the door. A pentagon-shaped door, actually, which opens to a pentagonal-shaped staircase leading down. As they escape down the staircase with the kid, the door closes up behind them and is replaced with earth, blocking the Seven from chasing them. At the bottom of the staircase, they start to make their way down the road after removing their shoes, at which point Agatha declares that she never really doubted them all for a second. And that's where the second episode ended. So I was pleased with these two episodes. I didn't find them to be earth-shattering, I have to be honest. I didn't find them to be spectacular, but I think they were a solid start for the show. I very much liked that they started off with Agatha, under like a spell that apparently came from Wanda, which had her living in Westview, which has now been released from Wanda's curse or whatever, but not being in touch with reality, thinking she was a cop and someone named Agnes, and not remembering that she's actually Agatha, while still being able to interact with the world around her just without realizing what she's actually doing, as she was seeing everything differently than what it really was. It was really strange, but I thought it was good because I think that makes sense given how things wrapped at the end of WandaVision. And, I sort of see the Agatha character as a bit of a tragic character, a character in need of redemption, a character that only behaved badly because she was in pain. And so I liked that she was experiencing the world as someone else, as a normal person, who'd been through hardships and who had feelings and who may even have lost a son. It just makes the character seem more human, and I think shows that Agatha actually does have some humanity. And that there's a good person in there, and that's the kind of character I like. So I was happy about that, and I think some of the stuff's going to recur. We're going to see as the show goes on more from that sort of fake backstory that was created for her. We're going to see, I think, where it has a correlation to things that happened to her in real life. Because don't forget, she's very old. So I liked that. I'm intrigued by her history with this witch that she saw as the FBI agent, whose name we don't know yet. So I want to know more about that. I think that character's cool. And I think the neighbor character is going to be very funny going forward in, the rest of the episodes. I'm intrigued by who this kid is. Why doesn't Agatha have the ability to hear him when he talks about his past? And why, when he tries to tell her his name, is he not permitted to? Is he somehow kin to her, a descendant of hers? I think it's going to be something like that. And I think there's a reason that that information is being kept from her at the moment. And we're going to find out what that is. I liked the singing scene a lot. I thought that was really cool. And of course, Jessica Hahn is unbelievably awesome in everything that she's in, but also as this character. And I enjoyed her performance all the way through, especially once she was actually Agatha and she just was, you know, being quippy and irreverent and kind of a bitch. I thought that was very cool. So I liked that. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. To summarize, again, I didn't think it was fantastic. It didn't blow me away, but I did enjoy it. It's a solid like 8 out of 10, I think. I didn't find any flaws with it. It's just that to say that it was a perfect 10, I can't because it was a little bit dry, I thought. It was lacking a little bit of, I don't know, spark. And maybe that will come in as the episodes pick up and as they start to go down the witch's road and the witchy things really start happening. From the trailer, it looks like that's what's going to happen. So I'm still looking forward to the show, and I'm optimistic that it's going to be pretty great. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back to review the next episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.